Red Dead Redemption 2 is Rockstar's third entry in their massively popular Red Dead series. Its immediate predecessor took the world by storm back when it released about 8 years ago. And if there was one thing I was skeptical about, it was whether the prequel could match its pacing, its story, and overall its core character. Well, I can safely say that not only does it match it, it runs rings around it. No, I really don't say that lightly. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that feels well ahead of its time. So much so that I dare say that the developers will be referencing and learning from this for many years to come, not only with Rockstar but with other companies as well. And being the first game from Rockstar to be built from the ground up for a new generation hardware, it's fair to expect a great deal of depth, and man, is that what you're getting. Though we'll get into that shortly. Let's just take it from the top. The game is served as a prequel, set over a decade prior to the events of Red Dead Redemption, beginning in 1899. The era of the outlaw is coming to a violent end, and the Van der Linde gang is smack bang in the middle of it. Living by the old ways in a new world has given them quite the reputation, for better and for worse. You take on the role of gang member Arthur Morgan, a character that may well be Rockstar's most interesting and likable character to date. The 19th century, as we stated earlier, is coming to the end, and the Wild West is evolving with the times. So America is harnessing technology and economic growth through the advancements made by its own pioneers, leaving many behind in its wake. So, following a poorly executed robbery in a town known as Blackwater, the Van der Linde gang are on the run, the nation's law enforcement and bounty hunters never trailing too far behind. They're forced to flee and fight their way through the heartland of America. You'll cheat, steal, lie, and commit just about every sin imaginable throughout your pursuit of survival, given the sheer scope and size of the epic story alone. It wouldn't be justified to spoil any of the story beats here. Hell, even a slither of the overall plot equates to several hours played. Instead, I'll direct my view at the game's structure, as well as some insight regarding Arthur. Those that played the predecessor will see many familiar faces here. Now, the Van der Linde gang is a compilation of both fresh and returning characters alike. A group of outcasts and outlaws that each house their own unique ideologies and beliefs, all of whom are brought to life through a range of impressive animations and realism. Though what's most interesting is how the game sheds new light on many of its well-known characters. John Marston, for instance, is every bit as witty and fearless as we remember him to be, though the game does a stellar job at introducing fans to his immature, somewhat impulsive and compulsive traits, giving the character more depth alongside his 40-something hour campaign in the follow-up. It's a refreshing focus point, and Rockstar have done well to ensure that good old John doesn't steal too much of the proverbial limelight. Your main goal is to survive the American heartland by any means necessary, and time after time you're pushed to the very limits, whether that's through rival gangs threatening you at every turn, the federal government watching your every move, or the punishing nature of harsh weather conditions and wild animals that would do everything they can to survive as well. Now, the gameplay is tight, whether you're entrenched in a gunfight or riding your steed out into the sunset. Everything feels authentic to real life. Old-timey weaponry from the Old West function as such. Revolvers require Arthur to cock his hammer back like John Wayne to fire, and all the hyper-realism lends itself to the immersive world the game takes place within. Environments are breathtaking and highly detailed, down to the crisp leaves on a maple tree. Consequences exist for everything you do in this game. Rob someone, don't kill them, somehow your decision will reverberate and come into play later down the line. And compared to other Rockstar games like Grand Theft Auto 5, random encounters feel much more realistic here. From a situational and contextual standpoint, people aren't just standing around waiting for you to find them, as in the aforementioned title. Arthur is just a squirrel who is living in this world and adapting to everything that it throws at him. Now, your horse also acts, and I know we could talk about horse testicles like a lot of people are fascinated on, but we're not going to go there. Your horse also acts as your inventory whilst exploring, and remembering to equip yourself properly before leaving them can often be forgotten. Once you step off your horse, you can press the left shoulder button to select whether you need a bow or a repeater, as well as choose which health items you'll need depending on the type of mission you're undertaking. Throughout the game, you'll be able to buy lots of different weapons, as well as finding them and being given them as part of certain missions. So you'll never be at a loss when choosing which one to take with you into battle. Now, like your horse, they'll also need maintaining, so cleaning them from time to time, replenishing their stats, and doing other things keeps them as good as new. It's a very straightforward system when using the weapons and items, and switching between what you have equipped is easily done by just holding the left shoulder button and selecting which item you want with said analog stick. Now, much like the first game, the cover system is employed by pressing the right shoulder button behind a rock, a wagon, a wall, or whatever else is close by, and it's just as important as it's ever been. Perhaps the most useful tool in your arsenal is Deadeye, which is this game's bullet time effect. So make sure you keep it topped up with snake oil or the occasional cigar. That way you'll have it in handy when you come into those intense shootouts. Honestly, there's so much to do in Red Dead Redemption 2 that you'll never get bored. Rockstar knows quality like no other. It's one of those games that has a never-ending supply of water cooler moments, and everything about Red Dead Redemption 2 just takes your breath away. Movement can sometimes, honestly, at times it does feel clunky, like many Rockstar games can, and remembering to put your gun away when talking to innocent people could have an easier way to go about it, but complaints are minimal. The way everything exists in its own routine, the way combat is so varied and tactical, the way you literally have an endless supply of things to keep you occupied, it's just so good. The visuals are sublime, and the voice acting from every single member of the cast makes this game feel so grand. Little touches like the cinematic camera angles, or the moments in which you get a great shot in and the camera triggers a short cinematic to see if it hit, or how you can tackle the same mission in two different ways depending on what you decide, is wonderful. So much care and consideration have gone into making this game a modern masterpiece, and it shows at every turn. The care and attention to detail within is second to none, and the depth throughout the entirety of this game's stunning open world, as well as every component that it encompasses, is unrivaled. Simply put, Red Dead Redemption 2 is not just ambitious and revolutionary, it's honestly a masterpiece that we'll be talking about for years to come, just as we were the first game. So with that being said, Red Dead Redemption 2 is Kasanova approved.